An original podcast from podlatino.com.
When I hold a cassette tape in my hand, I feel more than plastic and magnetic tape. I feel the weight of a revolution that changed how people listened, shared, and created music. The cassette was small, cheap, and portable, yet it carried entire worlds of sound. It gave birth to the mixtape, a form of expression that blended technology with emotion. From love letters recorded in songs to underground movements spreading messages of rebellion, the cassette tape became a cultural weapon. This is the story of how cassette culture reshaped music and identity. The cassette was introduced by Philips in the early 1960s. At first, it was not designed for music at all. It was a tool for dictation, a way for offices to record voice notes. The sound quality was poor, nowhere near the rich tones of vinyl records, but technology improved quickly, and soon engineers realized that cassettes could carry music too. By the early 1970s, compact cassettes were marketed as a new way to enjoy albums. They were smaller than records, easier to handle, and portable. Unlike vinyl, they could be played in cars and carried in backpacks. Then came the innovation that changed everything: the ability to record. Blank cassettes allowed anyone to copy music from records, the radio, or other tapes. Suddenly, listeners were not just consumers, they were creators. You could make your own compilation of favorite songs, record your band's rehearsals, or capture radio broadcasts. The cassette empowered ordinary people to become DJs, archivists, and storytellers. By the late 1970s, cassette culture was everywhere. Teenagers recorded mixtapes to declare love, express friendship, or communicate feelings they could not put into words. Each tape was unique, carefully arranged, with handwritten track lists and decorated covers. To give someone a mixtape was to give them a piece of yourself. The mixtape was both message and medium. The cassette also fueled underground music. Punk bands in the UK and US recorded cheaply on tapes, bypassing expensive studios and labels. Tapes circulated hand to hand, spreading raw energy outside the mainstream. In New York, hip-hop culture exploded thanks to cassettes. DJs recorded live block parties and battles, and those tapes spread the new sound far beyond the Bronx. Without cassettes, hip-hop might never have reached the world. Cassettes became political tools too. In countries where censorship controlled media, tapes carried banned music and speeches. In Iran, during the 1979 revolution, recordings of Ayatollah Khomeini's sermons spread secretly through cassettes, fueling protest. In Eastern Europe, underground rock and dissident messages traveled the same way. A plastic shell could bypass governments and reach the people. The rise of the Walkman in 1979 supercharged cassette culture. Suddenly, music was not only portable but personal. A mixtape could travel in your pocket, played privately on headphones while walking down the street. The cassette and the Walkman together created a new form of intimacy. Music was no longer bound to radios or living rooms. It belonged to you wherever you went. By the 1980s, cassettes outsold vinyl records. Car stereos and boomboxes made them central to daily life. Entire subcultures formed around sharing tapes. Fans traded live concert bootlegs. College radio stations filled the air with underground acts, and listeners recorded them at home. The cassette became the backbone of do-it-yourself music culture. Of course, the cassette also carried controversy. Record labels feared piracy, warning that home taping is killing music. Campaigns tried to stop the spread of copied tapes, but the genie was already out of the bottle. People loved the freedom of recording, and piracy became part of music's economy. The same flexibility that empowered listeners threatened the industry. Yet the cassette's flaws became part of its charm. The hiss, the warping sound, the need to rewind with a pencil. These imperfections gave cassettes character. Unlike polished digital formats, tapes felt human. They wore out with use, carrying memories in every scratch and stretch. A mixtape was fragile, but that fragility made it precious. The 1990s brought new challenges. CDS promised cleaner sound and durability. Digital formats loomed on the horizon. Slowly, the cassette faded from dominance. By the early 2000s, it seemed obsolete, a relic of another age. Sony discontinued the Walkman cassette player in 2010, marking the end of an era. And yet, the cassette never truly died. Independent labels kept releasing limited edition tapes. Collectors celebrated their nostalgic value. In the 2010s, a cassette revival emerged, fueled by retro aesthetics and underground music scenes. Bands chose cassettes to stand out in a digital world. Listeners embraced their tactile nature, their intimacy, their imperfections. Today, cassette culture still thrives in niches. Tape labels release underground hip-hop, punk, and experimental music. Fans buy them not only for sound, but for symbolism. In an age of endless digital streams, a cassette feels personal, finite, and real. It is a reminder that music is not just data, it is emotion captured in time. The mixtape, in particular, remains a cultural touchstone. Though playlists have replaced tapes, the idea is the same, a curated sequence of songs as communication. When someone makes a playlist today, they are echoing the tradition of the mixtape. The cassette invented that language, giving us a way to speak in music. Looking back, the cassette's legacy is not just about technology. It is about empowerment, creativity, and intimacy. It gave ordinary people control over music, allowing them to create, share, and resist. It democratized sound, spreading voices across borders and generations. When I think of cassette culture, I think of bedrooms with stacks of tapes, of friends exchanging hand-labeled gifts, of underground concerts recorded on cheap recorders, of secret messages passed in plastic shells. The cassette was more than a format. It was a revolution in how we connected through music, and its echoes continue every time someone makes a playlist today.